Proceeding further, let's move on to the second session in today's webinar. I feel honored to introduce Dr. V.R. Anita ma'am, Professor, Department of ECE, SVEC, as the resource person for today's second session on antennas and its applications. I extend my heartfelt thanks to ma'am for accepting the invitation in spite of her tight schedule. Now, I request Mr. M. Bhargav, 3rd MECS, Sri Vidya Niketan Degree College, to introduce the resource person by reading out her profile. Over to you, Bhargav.
Thank you, Lahari. I'm M. Bhargav of 3rd MECS, and I'm extremely happy to introduce today's speaker for the second section, Dr. V.R. Anita ma'am. Dr. V.R. Anita ma'am has been working as a professor, Department of ECE in Sri Vidya Niketan Engineering College, Tirupati. She obtained Bachelor of Technology in the Department of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering from Institute of Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering, New Delhi, and post-graduation in Microwave Engineering from Nagarjuna University, Guntur. She did her PhD in Microwave Engineering from Sri Venkateshwara University, Tirupati. She is a member in IEEE, IETE, IEICE, ISCA, ISSE, and IEEE. She also published 70 plus papers in national and international journals and conferences. She also presented many technical lectures in various scientific forums, international and national. She was invited to deliver lectures in various institutions. She received Travel Grant Award from URSI General Assembly 2011, Istanbul, Turkey. She was session chair International Conference on ICEAA, IEEE, APWC, EMS 13, Torino, Italy. She received Young Scientist Grant from DST for her presentation held at Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia in October 2013. Presently, she completed a couple of research projects under INUP and NPMASS. She is holding research projects from various funding agencies. She is doing collaborative research with Yunnan University, Republic of Korea, DRDO, and CSIR NAL. Dr. V.R. Anita ma'am is continuously upgrading her expertise in the areas of electrically small antennas, microstrip antennas, fractal antennas, and MEMS. Dr. Anita ma'am is instrumental in establishing National MEMS Design Center at Sri Vidya Niketan Engineering College under the aegis of NPMASS. Competence in handling COMSOL, converterware, and Intel that will provide an ideal environment for conducting simulation studies in the areas of MEMS, HFSS, ADS. IE3D will provide a platform for conducting simulation studies in the areas of antennas and microwaves. She played a key role to obtain a fund of Rs 20 lakhs for improvement of SNT infrastructure from DST during 2012 and 13. She is serving as PhD guide in JNTU Anantapur, Sri Vidya Niketan Engineering College, etc. She has served as external examiner for master's thesis at various institutions. She is a member in doctoral committee in SRM University. I feel it as my honor to invite her as today's resource person. Over to you, Lahari.
Thank you, Bhargav. I feel profusely elated to invite today's resource person, Dr. V.R. Anita ma'am, to enlighten us about antennas and its applications. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Lahari, and thank you, Bhargav, for nice introduction. I don't know how you got that one, that much of information, how you got. Thank you. Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. So today I'm going to discuss about antennas. I can say I'll take you to the exciting world of antennas. So at the end of my session, let me know whether I have taken you to the exciting world or not. That I would like to know.
We are waiting.
Oh, thank you, Madhu sir. Yeah. So I'm sharing my screen here. Shall I?
Yeah, ma'am, you can do it. I have made you co-host me.
Sir, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, madam.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah,
is.
ma'am, it's visible. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's visible.
thank you. Sorry. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the exciting world of antennas. So I'll discuss parallelly about the general applications of antennas, and finally I'll show you how you can uh, take the real-time problem as application of antennas. Okay, so if you consider antennas which are required everywhere, because any wireless communication requires antennas. So without antenna, you are there is no wireless communication, and we are all are standing in wireless world nowadays. So even look at your mobile phone. So it has multiple bands. It may be having the different frequencies like GSM 900 or 1800, or you are hearing like a 3G, 4G, Wi-Fi, GPS, and so on. So it requires multiple antennas to receive the signal. So similarly, let's say a radio transmitter, right? So which has to transmit the signal and your radio has to receive the signal. So here we need to send signal to satellite or receive the signal from satellite. So there, to transmit the signal and receive the signal, we need antenna, right? Even now, without antenna, I can't transmit the information and you can't receive my information. This is the best example I can say. And if you take any defense communication, which is almost, incomplete without the use of antennas. So that I'm saying that this is the exciting world. So welcome to this exciting world. So, and even for one more decade or coming decade or 2 decades, right? So the complete world is going to, that means antennas are going to play a vital role, right? So here I'll start with the introduction to antennas. So what are the basic fundamentals of antennas? Because you are one of the coordinator, Dr. Srinivasan requested me, because this is new area. So you please start with the introduction and some basic fundamentals, so that I'll go with the basic fundamentals of antennas. And in that basic fundamentals, many of you might have studied these things in your few courses, what you already came across, right? So but in this particular antennas, we are going to emphasize on design. How many designs? Yeah, I don't say how many designs, it is design only, because even just now Madhukumar sir discussed about design, the importance of designing. So even our Prime Minister is saying currently, make in India. Now, make in India will only happen if we do design in India. So even you just take the example, now today we are importing more than 1 lakh crore worth of antennas in our country. Do you believe it or not? It is happening. And there are very few manufacturers who are manufacturing these antennas. So what is the reason behind that? The reason is very simple. We don't have enough design available in our country which can be manufactured, right? So let us just look at where antennas are going to be used, so that antennas are you will come to know where we are using these antennas and how it is working, right? So for that, I'll give just a simple diagram, basic diagram. This is a wireless communication system. So where antennas are going to be used. So this complete system, it is a wireless communication system. So just now I told you, without antenna, there is no wireless communication system. And nowadays, everywhere it is wireless, wireless, wireless. Not only here, throughout the universe, you just take, right? It is a wireless. If it is a wireless, there must be an antenna. Without antenna, there is no wireless. So that every time I used to say, before starting even my class, I used to say, where we are standing. I just pose the question, where we are standing. The people are saying, I am standing on a bench, I am sitting on a bench, something like that. And no, we are standing on wireless world, right? So just look at this diagram. So here the antennas are used in both. This is the transmitter and this is the receiver. So both the transmitter and receiver consists of antenna. And I am not saying what type of antenna. Later we will come. What are the types of antennas? And each antenna is going to be applicable for different applications. That means varieties of antennas we are going to use with the requirement of that means with our requirement. So here a transmitter, if you take first, it is going to transmit the signal. Receiver, it is going to receive the signal. This is what we know. What is happening behind that, behind transmission and reception, right? So if you take that, here the transmitter consists of a modulating signal. So it is also, you can call it as information signal. It may be, it could be your voice data, or it could be an analog data, or it could be a digital data, right? So whatever the data here it consists of. So this is information signal, and which is known as a modulating signal. And that signal is going to be superimposed on carrier signal. And this carrier signal is the signal on which it is being carried. So just to give you an example, let us look at a simple radio signal. Radio signal. So now in radio signal, we are going to transmit the voice signal for medium wave and AM wave, that is amplitude modulated AM radio. The modulating signal frequency is up to 5 kilohertz. The carrier frequency for amplitude modulation medium wave radio can vary from 530 kilohertz to 1620 kilohertz. Whereas if you take the FM, every day we are hearing when you are traveling in buses or cars or anywhere, even in your mobile phones. So FM radio, things are slightly different with the AM. So here in FM, modulating signal has a bandwidth up to 15 kilohertz. That is why FM radios sound is much better, and the carrier frequency could be from 88 to 108 megahertz. And then we take these two signals and do the modulation. So modulation can be analog or digital modulation. So in analog modulation, we can have a amplitude modulation, phase modulation, or frequency modulation. If you go with the digital modulation, there are so many techniques. For example, QPSK, BPSK, and FSK, ASK, right? So and so on, so forth. Right? So after that, what is going to happen? After modulating, that means here modulating signal and carrier signal, which is going to be modulated here. Modulator is going to modulate that signal, right? So after that, we amplify the signal. So what is the importance of amplifier? I think yesterday Mr. Pawan Kumar explained nicely. So here we connect that with an amplifier, and now generally you will see in majority of the textbooks this particular amplifier, that means this particular thing is not shown. That is impedance matching network. However, it is extremely important thing to be connected between the antenna and amplifier. Now, what is the importance of this? That means antenna may be having certain input impedance, right? Generally, we design an antenna for 50 ohm input impedance. Any type of antenna you are designing, so that antenna is designing at 50 ohm input impedance. So later on, I will tell you why we are designing any type of antenna or any antenna, why we are designing at 50 ohm input impedance. Now, amplifier may require a different impedance matching. So it may require, let us say, 1 kilo ohm. Also, it may require even 10 ohm, depending upon what kind of amplifier it is. So that antenna impedance has to be matched using a matching input impedance matching network, and that has to be a lossless matching network. I think I am with you. So lossless matching network generally consists of inductors, capacitors, maybe transmission lines or coaxial lines, but in general not resistance. So however, sometimes they do use slightly lossy matching network only for broadband impedance matching. So once the signal is transmitted through the antenna, it is received by the receiver. So the receiver antenna receives the signal here. That is a receiver part. And I'm saying that this receiving signal is very, very weak. First, initially, whatever the signal, the receiver antenna is going to receive the signal. That signal is very, very weak. So that we must amplify by RF amplifier. And there is no there is another important thing required here, either in between or antenna or RF amplifiers. We should do one thing that is known as band pass filter between this and RF amplifier. So sometimes if antenna is having a narrow band, it can act as a band pass filter, or sometimes a band pass filter is built into RF amplifier. Otherwise, a band pass filter should be added over here, right? So this band pass filter is required only to pass the desired band which is required for given application. Then this amplified signal through local oscillator, which is that means through local oscillator, which is LO, and it is down converted using mixer. And this is the one of the super heterodyne concept. And different concepts you can discuss here, but this is not our part. I'm just saying that what is happening inside. But this concept is used in majority of the receiver systems. So what is done is that RF amplifier signal, which is a relatively higher frequency, converted down to the lower frequency, right? So just to give you a couple of examples for FM radio, so this frequency can be 80, already told you, 88 to 108 megahertz, but intermediate frequency IF is around 10.7 megahertz. So if you take for AM radio, this frequency can be 530 to 1620 kilohertz. and this may be about 455 kilohertz. So that's why the name is IF, that is intermediate frequency, right? So we filter it out and amplify the signal. That is the reason why after this local oscillator and mixer, we are sending the signal to the IF filter and amplifier. And then we use demodulator, which is a reverse of the modulator, right? And we can say that that means if it is amplitude modulator, it will be amplitude demodulator. If it is a digital modulator, here it will be digital demodulator, right? So, and then this is connected to the display device or speaker. So depending upon whatever is the application, for example, for your mobile phone, let's take mobile phone, because everyone is aware and everyone is fascinated towards the mobile phones. So it may display or it will be connected to the speaker. If it is just a radio signal, it will be only speaker, and so on. You can take any example, right? So in similar way, so I think you understand what is the concept, how the antenna is going to transmit and receive the signal, right? So simply in technical terms, we can say that in radio engineering, an antenna is the interface. So here, what is an antenna in technical terms, right? So I'll come to this picture later on. First, I'll define what is an antenna, right? So in radio engineering, you can define in n number of ways. So here I'm considering in radio engineering, right? So in radio engineering, an antenna is the interface between radio waves propagating through space and electric currents moving in metal conductors used with a transmitter or a receiver. So in transmission, a radio transmitter supplies an electric current to the antenna's terminals, and the antenna radiates the energy from the current as electromagnetic waves. That is radio waves. You can also call it as radio waves. So in reception, a reverse process. An antenna intercepts some of the power of a radio wave in order to produce an electric current at its terminals. That is applied to a receiver, which is to be amplified, right? So now come to this picture. And initially also I told you that I'm the transmitting antenna and you are the receiving antennas. All the participants are receiving antennas, right? So here all the students are sitting here, and I'm saying that whenever I used to discuss this thing, whenever I start my semester class on especially antenna subject. So I'm the transmitting antenna, you are the receiving antennas, and you must listen. You just receive the signals. You don't interrupt in between in any way, right? So finally you can interrupt, but in between you don't interrupt, right? So in that way we can say that all these that means we can say that good teachers who are specialized in antennas, they realize that teacher is a transmitting antenna and students are the receiving antennas. And you know, these students are sensing things even that the teachers don't sense. Before sensing the things by the teacher, the students are going to sense. So how fast they are, then we can say that instead of saying the teacher is a transmitting antenna, I 100% say 100% I'm saying that all the students are very good antennas, right? And afternoon beginning, I think Manohar sir quoted one quotation. It's nice, and it is also everywhere I used to quote that one. So because if you take the human body, so how without functioning of the heart, how the whole body is going to be functioned? Without heart, it is that means that body is I mean it is useless, right? And I can say that it is how it is powerful in our human body. In the same way, antenna is also going to be I mean is also a very powerful element at present and even in future, right? And you trust me or not, in a decade or two, we have a hair on our heads, right? So how many hairs are there, right? And the see one of the famous professor, right? So Dr. Madhuchandran from Germany, I attended one conference, he discussed this thing, so I acknowledge him, right? So one decade or two, mostly even you believe it or not, our hair is going to act as an antenna, single hair. And how many hair is there on our head? You can imagine. Forget about the effects or drawbacks what we are going to face, but the hair is going to act, and white paper is going to act as an antenna. So you believe it or not, right? So that is the beauty, that is the meaning of this diagram. And I can say that in this way I am saying that what is the importance of an antenna, right? And now come to the types of antennas. So here also I have taken the example that you see this figure here, it is a jar. So this jar is filled with chilies, right? So different varieties of chilies is filled in this jar, right? So why I filled all these mirchis in this jar means usually, in our India, we are calling this chilies or as mirchi, right? So chilies are not only used in Indian food, but also used in Ayurveda. And these chilies are extremely crucial for several world cuisines, that is hotels, particularly Indian food, where no dish is complete without a little sprinkling of this spicy flavor. So what is the importance of this chili? And you can say that all chilies are giving a flavor, but it depends on the type of the chili. If you take small chilies, what we are using daily cooking, right? So those chilies are very spicy. Whereas if you go with these type of chilies, each chili has their own spice, right? In similar way, we have different types of antennas for different applications, right? So here, if you go with noodles to garnish that noodles or even biryanis or fried rices, it is garnished with some capsicum. Capsicum is also one variety of chili, right? So in that fashion, here also there are enormous various types of antennas, and each antenna is going to play a vital role for particular requirement of our application. So if you take this antenna, it is to be classified as two different ways, that is conventional way and smart way, right? So if you consider conventional way, the type of antenna is going to be classified according to the frequency and according to the pattern. Pattern means radiation pattern. That means output of your transmitter or receiver. And according to the current and according to the number of elements, and even you can classify according to the size. And in the similar fashion, smart antenna, if you take the other way, smart antennas, so it is these smart antennas are fixed and it should be adaptive, right? So in similar way, in this way, what are all the different types of antennas we have? Let's see the physical structure and types of antennas. So here we have wire antennas. Are you remembering this antenna? Right? Because in our childhood days, we used this antenna, that is Yagi-Uda antenna, right? So we used this antenna for televisions.
Doordarshan, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah. So we played with these antennas in differently, right? So I think you students, present students, I don't think you are seeing, you are not seeing these antennas, and also you don't have chance to play with these antennas, right? So, and the other one is reflector antennas. As you know, the lens you studied in physics in 10th standard or 9th standard, or I can say since 9th standard, you are being studying about this lens reflectors. That is a reflector, concave, convex, something like that, right? So, and other type of antennas or planar antennas, which are like this. That is like a simple patch. So, where that means these antennas we are using in our mobile phones. And then the other type of antenna is the aperture antenna. So this is aperture antenna, like I can say dish antenna. Nowadays you are using for your dish connection, or that means you are having for DTH connections and all those things, you are using dish antenna, or you can say that parabolic antenna, right? And we are going with these are single elements, and here the array antennas also there. So why should we go for this array antennas? Means you can connect n number of arrays, right? So why should we go for this array antennas? Means in a single element you can't increase, especially the gain parameter and bandwidth parameter. So to increase that gain and bandwidth, which are playing a vital role in the performance of the antenna. So to increase these two, particularly these two parameters, there are n number of parameters, but particularly these two parameters, to improve these two parameters, we are going with n number of elements. Either you can connect series or parallel or circular or whatever the way you like, and whatever the requirements you have. As per that, you can connect, right? And not only these, you have several popular antenna models we have. So if you take wire antennas, we have n number of wire antennas, but I think at least a few students experienced with the dipole antenna or wire antenna, right? And Yagi-Uda antenna, right? So apart from this, all these are for research based antennas, that is folded dipole, cross dipole. When you come to the antenna subject, so there we are going to discuss about all these types of antennas, right? And the other side, these are the basic antennas. With these basic antennas, we developed, or the researchers developed the advanced antennas, which are nothing but a microstrip antenna. And this, from this microstrip antenna, you can go with this microstrip antenna is made with these planar structures. So planar structures made with monopole or dipole base antennas. So, and if you take the microstrip antenna, so it is a rectangular shape or square shape or circular or triangular, any hexagonal, whatever the shape you can consider, right? So like this, you have plenty of antenna types of antennas, and from this microstrip antenna, it is also exhausted nowadays, but the flavor we are not missing. We are taking this microstrip antenna as the base, and we are making a novel shape. and we are naming that novel shape. Even you, if you design or if you develop a novel antenna, you can name that antenna with your name. You can call that antenna with your name. No one is going to restrict you, right? So how beauty. Whereas the other devices you can't name, that means you can't call with your name, right? So, and why we are going for these many antennas means, so what is the importance, what is the trend in India to develop different types of, or to design different types of antennas means, first of all, bandwidth enhancement. Without bandwidth enhancement, nowadays everywhere, if you carry your mobile phone, you can speak. Even if you go to the forest, from the forest also you are speaking, your mobile is working. So why? Because of enormous bandwidth enhancement and gain enhancement. These two are very important for mobile applications, right? And axial ratio enhancement, metamaterial based, because if you are developing the antenna or designing the antenna, material is playing a vital role. So for that, we are considering the metamaterial based. Then EBG based. EBG means electromagnetic band gap. Electromagnetic band gap, right? So these EBG based structures are very important when you come to the research side. So later you can understand. Now if I am going to explain about this, you feel that this subject is very difficult, or this is very vast subject, something like that. And smart antennas. So why smart antennas came into the picture? So nowadays the everywhere it is smart, smart city, smart everywhere. You are smart, right? So in that direction, they introduced this smart antennas. So smart antennas means antenna with digital system, what just now Madhukumar sir discussed, right? So the combination, before it was not possible to combine these two, but now we are combining these two and making it as smart. And antenna itself, it is going to be, or we can say that it is active. Antenna itself, it is going to generate the energy. And we initially, I can't say antenna is an active element. You can make this element as active, but you can't say it is directly it is active element, right? So like I can say passive elements, RLC components are passive, right? So like that. So antenna for cognitive radio. Nowadays cognitive radio means there are n number of bands are not in use. So to make use of those unused bands, we are going for there also we are designing the antenna for cognitive radio. Then reconfigurable based antennas. See, now you just take the example of our mobile phone. So in our mobile phone, you just whatever the mobile phone, or we can say that smartphone. I can say that smartphone. So if you open the smartphone and observe the internal parts of the smartphone, you can identify 3 or 4 antennas are going to be present, right? And each antenna is going to operate at one frequency band and for one application, that is Wi-Fi, WiMAX, or the touch screen, or sending the images or videos or something, right? So at that moment, you can go with the reconfigurable based antenna. That is only one antenna we are going to design, and that designed antenna is going to radiate at different bands of frequencies, and each band, whenever whichever application needs that band, that is going to be operated, and it sends or it transmits or receives the signal, right? So then diversity based antenna and wearable antenna. Here wearable antennas are applicable for biomedical applications. So Here, gray area I specified, this is for researchers who are interested to do research on this antennas. So you go with the impulse-based antenna. This is a recent research started on these types of antennas: dielectric resonator antennas, lens antennas, leaky wave antennas, terahertz antennas, microwave heating antenna, and finally chip antenna. All these are new. Okay. So now, so if you consider the antennas for various applications in daily life, what we are using, microwave radio, right? So before going to this various applications, let us just look antennas for different applications. So let us look at a simple medium wave radio, also known as amplitude modulated wave front. So that is that's frequencies varying from 530 to 1620 kilohertz, and generally this is used for transmitters, right? So now let us just take one of the frequency in between. So in between frequency, if we take one number like 1000 kilohertz, which is equal to, we can say that 1 megahertz, right? So we can calculate the, if you know the frequency 1 megahertz, that means 1 megahertz frequency we know, you can calculate the wavelength. So wavelength is given by lambda, that is equal to c by f, right? So what is c here? C is the velocity of light and the value is 3 into 10 power 8 meters, right? So now if you calculate with your on your fingertips, so you can say that at 1 megahertz frequency, the wavelength comes out to be 300 meters. So if we use lambda by 4 monopole antenna, that would require a height of about 75 meters. So if you just look at one apartment may have a one rooftop, will be typically about 10 feet height. That will be about 3 meters. And when we talk about 75-meter height, this is almost equivalent to 25 meters tall building. So it requires a large antenna for transmission. But come to the reception. Most of the time we are using at receiving end loop antenna, which has to be very, very small. So when we discuss about monopole antenna and loop antenna, we will look into how these things are designed. And another very commonly used thing is a cell phone. So let us just look at cell phone. It has so many different bands. I already stressed on this. It has a CDMA band, commonly known as 800 megahertz band, GSM 900, which is 900 band, and in fact the band varies from 890 to 960 megahertz. Then GSM 1800 band. Actually, this consists from 1710 to 1880 megahertz. After that, we have 3G, 4G, right? And Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all these things. If you take the 3G, which is again split into two parts, transmit part and receive part. So this band is from 1920 to 1980. And then the other part is 2110 to 2170 megahertz. Now come to the 4G. In fact, in India, we use 4G in 2300 to 2400 megahertz. But there are different countries who are using different bands. Now come to the Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. Both have the exactly same frequency as that of a microwave oven. You know, every house nowadays without microwave, it's a compulsory device in our home. right? Microwave oven. So that microwave oven, which is operating at a frequency of 2.45 gigahertz. So that frequency is we consider for Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, right? So 2.45 gigahertz frequency means how much power, how much radiation we are getting from that, and that radiation is heating the food, right? So typically for these applications, different types of antennas we can use, we use, which are monopole or normal mode helical antenna, right? Or microstrip antenna. Why I specified this microstrip antenna in a special color? Because which is playing a vital role in all advanced antennas. We are without this microstrip patch antenna, we can't go with advanced antennas, whatever I showed in gray area, right? So just again to give an example, when cell phones were initially launched, let us say for GSM 900 at 900 megahertz, where the wavelength is approximately, if you use this C by F formula, you will get 33 centimeters. So if we try to use a monopole antenna in that cell phone, let us say the length is approximately 9 centimeters. You just take the earlier mobile phone. It has an antenna. That antenna size is 9 centimeters, and almost 3 centimeters of length of that antenna is out of that mobile phone. It is visible to us. So earlier the mobile phones would actually have something like a monopole hanging up there, and this would be the height of roughly about 9 centimeters. Now, this was very inconvenient and it would break many a times. So then people come out with their normal mode helical antenna, because if you take that monopole or dipole antenna, and that is going to radiate, that is going to orient, that means polarize vertically, not horizontally, right? So if you don't have horizontal polarization, then your mobile phones are not going to work with that much of bandwidth. So that helical antenna has been introduced. Helical is nothing but just the monopole or wire antenna is to be like windings. That's it. Each winding is having, that means it is going to be winding like horizontally, so that we have a vertical that is a wire antenna, and input and output we are taking, and it is winding so that it is going to polarize vertically as well as horizontally. So normal mode helical antenna is nothing but you take a wire, wrap it around your finger or hand or whatever, and that height, was reduced to just about 2 centimeters, so that we use normal mode helical antenna. Now later on, people were not satisfied with that also, so then a microstrip antenna and printed monopole antennas came into the picture, and now those antennas are hidden inside the mobile phone itself. In fact, 2 decades back, there used to be a one ad, whereas scissor would come, and it will come come here, and it would cut this particular thing. That means antenna. That means that mobile phone, and scissor will come out, and it cut the particular antenna, that is which is existing or which is visible outside, and it will actually show there is no antenna. It was there a decade back. We used to see this ad in TVs, but in a reality, antenna was inside the mobile phone itself, And now, because of so many bands inside the mobile phone, there is not just one antenna, there is a dual band antenna, tri-band antenna, quad band antenna. Now even they have penta-band antennas also. Then you go with the cell phones to communicate, we need cell towers. And in India, we have roughly about 5 lakh cell towers, and it may use monopole antenna, dipole antenna, microstrip antenna, and even arrays. So depending upon the application to application, typically a monopole antenna is used when omnidirectional coverage is required. But majority of the time coverage is sectorial. So it may cover about 90 degrees sector or 120 degrees sector. So then sectoral antennas are required. So on one rooftop, many a times you will see that there is a one antenna facing this side, then there is another antenna, and then there is another antenna facing each side. And each of these antennas will cover about 120 degrees, and the total coverage will be 360 degrees. And then of course antennas are required for satellite and defense communication too. So they use all kind of antennas like microstrip antennas, horn antennas, spiral antennas, helical, reflector, Yagi-Uda, log periodic antennas, and so on and so forth. All these are to be used for different applications as a base antenna. From this you can go with any type of novel antenna, right? So let's go with and what if you may ask the question that what is the importance of microstrip antenna, right? So because microstrip antenna is playing a vital role because of the various advantages, which has a low profile and it maintains low weight, right? So the cost is also very less of this microstrip patch antenna, and you can integrate easily into arrays, or even if you go with microwave integrated circuits, you can easily integrate these microstrip antennas with that, right? And at the same time, we too have I mean that microstrip antenna too have some limitations, and those limitations are narrow bandwidth and the poor polarization poor polarization, then limited power capacity and tolerance problems, right? And here you remember the advantages and limitations, and later I'll come to this point. So here this is the practical example and practical solution I provided. Here you just see wind profiling radars. So where you heard about this wind profiling radars, which is very near to us, that means 40 kilometers far from our location, that is Tirupati, right? So that we used to call it as the National Atmospheric Research Laboratory, right? So there we have this wind profiling radars, right? So what is the importance of this wind profiling radars, and why we go with that means why we are designing antenna for this wind profiling radars, right? So wind profiling radar is a type of weather observing equipment. We call it as, this is an equipment. What equipment? Weather observing equipment, right? So that uses radar or sound waves to detect the wind speed and direction at various elevations above the ground. So readings are made at each kilometer above the sea level and up to the extent of the troposphere. You know, we have previously that National Atmospheric Research Laboratory, we used to call it as MST, Radar Center. MST means it is the layers: tropospheric layer, stratospheric layer, mesospheric layer, right? Each layer is going to cover some distance, right? So in that way, it is going to extend up to the extent of the troposphere. It detects the weather. Right. So that tropospheric distance is between 8 and 17 kilometers above sea level. And above this level, what is happening means there is a inadequate water vapor presence to produce a radar bounce. So wind profilers or Doppler radars that most often operate in the frequency range of VHF or UHF. VHF means very high frequency, UHF means ultra high frequency. So 30 to 300 megahertz or 300 to 1000 megahertz frequency bands. Right? Ma'am or sir, shall I continue 10 minutes more?
Madam, please, madam.
Carry on, madam. Carry on,
Please,
madam.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Madam,
Thank
you have all the time.
Oh, thank you so much, ma'am.
You can take your own time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So, if you come to the applications, these wind profiler radars, in real time, if you take up the various applications of this wind profiler radars, in real time, you have wind variability and atmospheric turbulence and wind shear information, rainfall rates, and if at all we want to find out the boundary layer height. So for all these, this wind profiling radar is very, very important to detect or to find the direction or to find the speed or to find the conditions. Right? So that means it increases the safety and quality of the life. So if you look at there are several wind profiling radars throughout the world. So before going to take that wind profiling radars throughout the world, so where is the motivation? All this, that means if you take in real time, this wind profiling radar is increasing the safety and quality of life, human life, or any other sources, right? So that means here it is for society. So there I motivated and I have taken up this problem, right? So in that direction, the and also what is the objective of choosing this problem means we have to, for this wind profiling radar requires some specific, it has their own specifications. So it should have low beam width and it should have high gain. So because of this beam width, low beam width and high gain, which is going to estimate even in clear air or and even in precipitations, you can estimate by using this system design, right? And the problem here, how can we identify the problem and how can we propose the problem? So I went to National Atmospheric Research Laboratory, Gadanki, and I saw the existing system, and that existing system, can we do something with the existing system? First question, right? And can we propose something for tomorrow? That means proposing new system, right? So which is going to better? So for these two questions, do you have answer? Right? So for both the questions, you can give the answer positively. Right? So if you take the existing system, you know, if you anytime if you have a chance and I request principal ma'am, you take them. You take final year students to the National Atmospheric Research Laboratory. Practically, they can see many things around NARL, and they learn practically what is going on and what they studied, what they learned theoretically. They will compare with practical. So that is my humble request, ma'am, if possible.
Sure, ma'am. Definitely. Yeah. Please, ma'am. Please.
Yeah. So their existing system, already I showed Yagi-Uda antenna, right? So that, what is the size of that? It is a very big size, right? So a single element is a bigger size, right? So if you go and visit their system, that means how many antennas are there? 1024 by 1024. The antennas arrangement is in that fashion, that is square fashion, but it is total number of elements are 1024 by 1024. If you multiply 1024 by 1024, it is almost exceeding 1 lakh. So 1 lakh antennas they are using for weather forecasting. So now, can you do something for that existing system? No, you can do, but you can't go beyond those number of systems. And at the same time, the problem is, so if any one of the antenna is going to be failed, the complete system is going to be stopped. That is the other main drawback with the existing system. And that is the reason why previous days, that means olden days, earlier they used to say weather prediction is also not saying correctly, right? And even I can give one example. Last year, one of the satellite, I think PSLV or GSLV, just 20 minutes before they stopped launching the satellite, right? So why? Because of the bad weather conditions. So you just imagine, not only this is playing a small thing, but other reasons also may be there. But this weather forecasting, the antenna is playing a vital role here also in the complete system. So in that direction, the part 2, that means can we propose something for tomorrow? Yes. So there I proposed a solution for the existing problem. So here that proposed system is having the low beam width, and which is giving a better gain than the existing system. And for this wind profiling radar, the required beam width is only 4. I think 4.6 dpi, right? So in that direction, I proposed the microstrip antenna array, right? So here, what I discussed, just existing array 1024 by 1024 elements. So it is almost more than 1 lakh, and existing in the world, only for each and every country, only one weather forecasting center, right? And even you go around the world, you have you can see only Yagi-Uda antennas and parabolic dishes and planar phased arrays, all these things. So only one place you have the 576 elements which are made with microstrip antenna, right? But the performance of this 576 elements is very, very poor. Even it is not giving like what we have 1024 by 1024 Yagi-Uda antenna array. So I went with the new array with 256 elements, that is 16 by 16, right? So with the coaxial feed, and here the feeding is also different. Microstrip line feed they used, right? So why this feeding? To excite, for the excitation purpose. Excitation means to make antenna active. We are giving these feeding techniques. So that is how you have to identify the problem, and you have to always think reality. So in real life, whatever you are doing, you relate with your subjects so that you can bring some, you will get some ideas, and for those ideas, definitely you can give some solution which will be helpful to the society. So in this way, there are many I mean wind profiling radars throughout the world. So here you just see this is the mesosphere. 1974 first detected echoes from the mesosphere and the strato or troposphere with the Jikamarka radar. Right, so this and all we don't have. Even first they say they launched with balloons. With balloons they are going to detect or I mean obtain the information of about weather, right? So like this, you just see Jikamarka radar, which is located in Peru. So you just see how many phased arrays are there. So which are operating at 50 megahertz. That is also another requirement. That is specification of that radar center. It should be operated at lower frequencies. Why which should be operated at lower frequencies means even if you are designing an antenna for satellite communications or defense communications, it should be, they are thinking that it should be smaller in size, but at the same time it should be operated at lower frequencies. So if you take the frequency and if your frequency and wavelength, if you take the relation between these two, both are inversely proportional. If your frequency is less, automatically your wavelength is high, right? If your wavelength is large, automatically your transmitting signal is going to travel at a larger distance. That is the reason why these centers, that means satellite or space centers, are almost operating at lower frequencies. And you just see 300 by 300 phased arrays they used, and the required power you just see 2 megawatts. So these are and if one antenna is going to fail, all other antennas are going to be failed. So like that, Japan, you just see, right? So Yagi-Uda array antennas they used, and the power requirement is also 1 megawatt. So for idea's sake, I'm showing all these things, and Indonesia, you just see here also Yagi-Uda antennas they used 560 Yagi-Uda antennas. Nowhere it is less than 100, right? So in this way, you just observe here the other one. Here also it is phased array, profiler, you can also say. So like this, you just see this is that means parabolic antenna, right? So how huge it is, but the performance is very, very poor. They didn't met. This is made at Italy, right? And tropospheric in Germany, we have wind profiling radar like this, right? And you just see many wind profiling radars throughout the world. So all are made with Yagi-Uda antennas or parabolic reflectors or the phased arrays or so on, not with the microstrip patch antennas. So in that direction, we have taken as a problem, and I proposed that 16 by 16. This is the comparison with all the parameters. That is height, side lobe levels, beam width, then what type of antenna they used, and what is the frequency range, all these things, comparison. And with that, that means I can say that there I proposed microstrip patch antenna that is 16 by 16, that is 256 elements, and how this antenna is going to relate to the wind profiling radar means to transmit the signal and to receive the signal. And what is the important feature when you use antenna in the wind profiling radar means it is going to give the flexibility in the configuration, and you will have beam steering. That means beam is going to be steered in both azimuth and elevation direction. That means in your words, in your understanding purpose, I can say that 360 degrees. And if it is beam is steering in 360 degrees, that means almost coverage, all the area is to be covered. And it also has, if you build the antenna in wind profiling radars, so it can cover, it gives a high range resolution. Without resolution, you can't find out all these things, right? So in this way, there are n number of antennas, but why I chosen microstrip antenna? So here wind profiling radar, what is the requirement? It requires a low beam width. So if you take all these antennas are having high beam width and lesser bandwidth, whereas microstrip antenna, high bandwidth is there, but the limitation is the lower beam width. That I have taken as advantage for my application, right? So microstrip antenna is nothing but it is I think you know transmission line. From the transmission line we can make the microstrip antenna. So transmission line is nothing but two parallel lines, right? And here one we are making it as ground, and other one we are attaching the strip, a small strip, that is, or we can say that patch, right? So that it is going to be conducted. This is the conducting patch, and if you attach that conducting patch to the other side of the transmission line, so that that line is also going to be conducted, and in between these two parallel lines we are filling with the dielectric medium. It is filled with dielectric medium, so that we simply say that the lower conductor functions as a ground plane and the upper conductor as a radiating element. And also you just see why I am choosing this microstrip antenna. It is going to be radiated. Most of the waves are going to be, or signals are going to be radiated into the free space freely. Directly it is to be radiated, right? So whereas a few more antennas are there, those antennas are going to radiate in between these two lines. So if it is in between these two lines, then it has there is a possibility to lose some information or to lose some signal because of the surface, because of the surface material, because of the surface coating, and so on, right? So that here most of the wave is going to be radiated directly into the space. So that is one more advantage of this microstrip antenna. So this is what a microstrip antenna, and these advantages I already discussed, and applications where anywhere you can use. Start with your mobile phones, and you can go with end with medical. So anywhere you can use this microstrip antennas, right? And these limitations also I discussed, and this is what I proposed. Even if you visit that NARL center, this is located in a small room inside the roof, and that 1024 by 1024 elements are exposed into the atmosphere. That is another problem. So if it is exposing into the atmosphere, automatically those antennas are going to expose with atmospheric conditions, whatever it may be. So that this antenna array is fixed inside the room, and which is going to transmit the signal and receive the signal. And even whenever you are traveling from Tirupati to Chittoor or Bangalore during night times, you can observe beam is focusing into the space. Previously only one beam. So the same beam is going to transmit, and after that for reception purpose they are going to use. But now you can observe two beams like a V shape, right? So one is for transmitting, another one is for reception, right? So in that way, if we have transmission and reception immediately, time second to second, minute to minute, we can predict, or we can identify, or we can identify or detect the atmospheric conditions, information of atmospheric condition. So that is the reason why just 20 minutes before launching the satellite, they stopped. Even here it is looking like atmosphere is good, but when it goes beyond the tropospheric layer, or even tropospheric layer, we don't know how the atmosphere is going to be. So to know that one, this gave the information, so that they stopped just before 20 minutes. You believe it or not? right? So in this way, we keep on telling there are several in real life also, everyday's life. By taking this into the consideration, this is the just a 2 by 2 element what we fabricated, and in the similar fashion 16 by 16 elements we fabricated and we fixed in NARL laboratories, right? So in this fashion, the same patch you can take and you can make like a tree, right? And why? Because if you look at this structure here, 16 elements by 16 elements, 256 elements, and what is the space requirement? But still we need miniaturization, and that miniaturization should be and that miniaturized antenna should be at a lower frequency. So if it is the case, you can go with by taking this in real life, you just see the tree. Every day we are seeing the tree. So tree is like a, first they have, it has trunk, and from the trunk it has branches, and from the branches it has leaves and stems, fruits, all those flowers, all those things, right? So same I have taken as a tree structure, and that tree structure how it would be means we can say that similar to that, and I applied Fibonacci series, mathematics, Fibonacci formula. That means every iteration it is going to be doubled, right? So by applying that, you can make that tree structure, and from that tree structure you can save the miniaturize the antenna, and these many elements are also not required for that. So in that way, in our daily life, whatever we are going to use, even you just remember in our childhood days, if our mom or dad is going to give some food to us, we used to say that from that food, we just whatever the shape it has, we just imagine that this is seems like to be a 7 or a B or P, something like that. The same concepts here also, whatever you are learning, you just imagine in your real life. Whatever you are doing, you think about your with your electronics. Definitely you will get some idea, and for that idea also you will get the solution, and that solution may be useful for the society. So point not 1%, if it is useful to the society, you just feel proud. That means I contributed something to the society and to the country, to my country where I born, right? So in that way, if you ask me to talk, I keep on talking, and hours together I can discuss, and I can show the different types of designs, and how I have taken all those designs, and how I applied for societal need, all these things. So one more lecture from this where I stopped. From this point, I will discuss whatever the tree structure and how it is applicable for mobile communication or mobile phones, and the different antennas for defense applications, radome applications, and satellite applications, all these, and how I applied neural network to this antennas area. So that is completely, I think, the computer science people or expert in neural networks, right? So in that way we can discuss. Now I just end the session. So if you have any doubts, you please feel free to ask me. And before closing my session, I thank I thank the principal ma'am and convener of today's session, and organizers, that is Srinivasulu sir, and all other organizers. My sincere thanks to you for giving me this opportunity, and particularly and not the least, all the participants who patiently listen my lecture. So I uh, my sincere thanks to you all. Right? Thank you, one and all. So if you have any questions, please.
Thank you, ma'am. That was wonderful session. Now I request Mr. M. Bhargav, 3rd BSc MECS, to pass on the questions or clarifications to the resource person. Over to you, Bhargav.
Yeah, thank you, Lahari. Yeah, ma'am, actually, here is a question shooted by Dr. Damalaju Srinivasrao, sir. So, what is the range of radio frequency antenna? Explain the working of it.
So radio frequency antenna working itself, that is nothing but it transmits or receives the signal, right? So, but if you consider radio frequency, that radio frequency is, we can say that it is almost in gigahertz frequency range. And you can also treat that radio frequency, microwave frequency also comes under radio frequency. And that starts from 3 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz range. And working of antenna, any type of antenna at any frequency, working is same. There is no difference. And if you go with the frequency ranges, you have to go with the different types of antennas, and that antenna should withstand with that frequency. If you keep on increasing the frequency, and if you keep on designing your antenna at higher frequencies, the power requirement is also very, very high. So that also you have to look into that. And if you go with Yagi-Uda antennas or monopole antennas or any basic antennas except microstrip antenna, these requires the power level is very, very low, and there we are using the amplifiers and all these things are at a very low power level. Right? It is not at microwave level. If you go with radio frequency range, definitely you have to go with the microwave devices and microwave components. Yeah. So that is only the difference, but everything functioning of antenna is same.
Okay, thank you. Here is another question shooted by Mr. Nivas. We read about waveguides. Are these also antennas? If not, what is the differences?
Pardon, come again.
Okay, we read about waveguides. Are these also antennas? If not, what is the difference between them?
Waveguides and first one, what you are saying? There is no
we
clarity.
read about.
Read about. Okay, yes, read about waveguides.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Are these
waveguides?
Yeah. And those waveguides, you can also treat it as an antenna.
Yes, ma'am. He's asking, is there a difference between antennas and waveguides?
What is the difference? Yeah, waveguide is the advanced version of transmission line. And before the antenna and waveguide is completely different. Initially, we can say. And if you understand, from the transmission line, we are flaring one end of the transmission line, right? One end of the transmission line, we are just flaring, and that flared region is nothing but your waveguide. And this transmission line and flared region combinedly, we are calling it as the antenna. Right? Okay. So alone, we can't call it as waveguide as an antenna. Alone, you can't.
Okay, ma'am. Here's another question by Ms. Lakshmi Priya. Are there any open source tools to design antennas?
That is only the problem. Now, we don't have any open source tools, but these Vidyaniketan people are lucky that we have antenna research lab. There you have HFSS software as well as FICO software we have. Right? So always welcome. You can come and you can design, and even their group of people are working on antennas. They will help you. There is no open source tools available right now.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. These are the questions that were posed by some of the
Ma'am, we have got one more question from Dr. S.V. Ravikant sir. He's a faculty from SVDC.
Yes, yes.
He has asked that, can we expect future antennas to predict earthquakes in advance?
Yes, definitely. Research is going on. I'm also part of that. So doing research, earthquake, that means signal, how signal is to be transmitted in earth. So that is the main problem. Once if we can transmit the signal into the earth, then automatically earthquakes also going to be detected.
Okay, that's all, ma'am. Questions. Thank you, ma'am. We are extremely happy to inform you that it was a very useful session. We have understood about antennas and its applications very clearly. Thank you so much for spending your valuable time to enlighten us. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Now, I request Mr. K. Murli Mohan, sir, Head Department of Mathematical Sciences, to propose vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Lahari. Before I continue, I request Principal Madam to speak few words about today's presentation and also the overall picture of today's. I request you, Madam, please.
Good evening, sir. Thank you so much. And Dr.
Good evening.
Anita, ma'am, it
Good
was
evening.
a wonderful session. I was just, going through the whole thing. As you have rekindled our memories with the Yagi antennas, where it was a status symbol to, remember our childhood. So it was a different era where we did not understand what it was. But then slowly, as we learned about antennas and as you said, RF or array and now, radar systems and all that. But that was really good because, as you said, we are all lucky that inside the campus, we have so much of facility that our children can do research projects or they can learn so much. So we are very happy. And indeed, we have a deep sense of gratitude for the whole faculty of ECE department, all four of you, like HOD sir, Ramna sir, and yourself, Madhu sir, and Pavan sir, for being here with us for 2 days and taking the concepts in depth for the students. See, this is going to be a recorded session. We can again and again play for the students and show it on the YouTube link also. But still, you have taken so much of, strain to actually go through the entire slides. I thought that was extremely good. As you said, the NARL and all that, I think sometimes we do that, but we need to go about it in a deep sense of, commitment, like where we get involved in the learning process as well. So definitely, ma'am, we will take your advice, and thank you so much for the invitation to be part of your labs also.
Thank you.
And one thing that I would like to remark, I'm quite new to the campus. One thing I would like to remark is that we have excellent team here, and all of you are so humble in spite of the great knowledge that you have. And you were so, amicably actually listening to the children also, and then, clarifying their doubts. Now, I feel very happy to be part of this whole system and to be friendly with all of you. So I deem that all of us are very blessed to have such a good team of all of us together here. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Actually, I heard recently that you joined in our Vidyaniketan family,
Yes,
and
yes.
I welcome you to this Vidyaniketan family, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And I am feeling blessed to be with all of you. Thank you so much. And once again, I congratulate the organizing team and our very good soldiers, like what we call, they have become experts now, doing all the anchoring, all our children, the student coordinators, and our team of faculty members who are doing a wonderful job. So hope that we'll do many more activities like this together. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. God bless all of you.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you for your wonderful words, concluding words. Now, I consider it a great privilege to propose vote of thanks to all the dignitaries who have witnessed it as a memorable and successful event. On behalf of the organizing committee, first of all, I would like to thank our beloved chairman, Padma Shri Dr. Manchu Mohan Babu, sir, and our revered CEO, Vishnu Manchu, sir, for supporting us in all possible ways and making this event possible. I would like to thank our principal, Dr. D. Ashalata Madam, who always stand by us, guide us, lead us, and motivate us. We thank you, Madam, for being with us today. I would like to thank UG and PG coordinator, Dr. P. Manohar sir, for his enormous cooperation in organization of this event. I would like to thank Madhukumar Professor, Department Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College, for his excellent presentation on digital world designer's perspective. My earnest thanks to today's second illustrious speaker, Dr. V.R. Anita Madam, Professor, Department of ECE, Sri Vidyaniketan Engineering College, who gave an insightful presentation on antennas and its applications. This is a 2-day webinar series. As part of this, yesterday we were fortunate to have a first session by a luminary, Dr. P.V. Ramana sir, Professor and Head Department of Department of ECE, Sri Niketan Engineering College, who delivered an excellent presentation on role of electronics in daily life. Our wholehearted thanks go to him. Yesterday's second session was delivered by an eminent speaker, Dr. VMSN of ECE, Sri Niketan Engineering College, who gave a wonderful presentation on design of amplifiers and its applications. My sincere thanks to go to him. I would like to thank Dr. K. Srinivasulu, sir, Assistant Professor, Department of Electronics. Assistant Professor in Electronics, Sri Niketan Degree College, the webinar coordinator, for working hard and ensuring that this program is carried out flawlessly. My thanks also go to Mr. K. Mansankar sir in Computer Science, Sri Niketan Department of ECE, Sri Niketan Engineering College for technical support. I thank all my colleagues and organizing committee members for their involvement and enormous cooperation in the organization of the event. I would like to thank the media team of Sri Niketan Educational Trust for designing brochures and e-certificates. My special thanks to student coordinators, Mrs. Soundarya Lahari, Mr. Bhargav, Mrs. Tejaswari, Ms. Akila, and Ms. Akanksha for brilliant anchoring, publicity, and for handling question and answer sessions marvelously. My heartfelt thanks to all the participants and students, without whom this event would not have been unfolded. I once again thank everyone for making this program successful. Thank you, madam. Over to you, Lahari.
Thank you, sir. I'm glad to thank all the participants for participating in the webinar today. The feedback form link is available in the YouTube chat box. All the YouTube participants kindly fill the feedback form and submit it in an hour. Participants will get e-certificate after the submission of feedback form within 7 working days. Thank you one and all and have a good day.